Well, I've never seen that on a Les Paul before. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time for that weekly mod collection demo shop update. We've got some real doozies to talk about this week. Although we only got 12 of the usual 16 Gibson graces our presence with. But at least they didn't fail to keep it interesting. Look at this 59 Les Paul reissue. They call it Beach Flame. Instantly, this blue finish caught my attention, but then, what's going on here? Is that what I think it is? They have a arm carve on a Les Paul. You know, like how Stratocasters have one? A little bit more exaggerated than this, maybe. So essentially, all they've done is taken a pin router, chopped up your binding, went through your flame maple top, and what you're seeing here is the mahogany back. Now, there's other manufacturers that do similar things, and this might look a little bit jarring in photos, but I wonder if that's ultra smooth. I was tempted to pick this thing up for a full review and demo. But then flipping it over to the back, come on guys, you couldn't have added another comfort cut back here or made it an access? Okay, maybe they could have added an aftermarket cut here like the Les Paul SM that you can learn about in this episode. I don't even think Gibson would do that for you in a made-to-measure. So if you pick that up, you've got a special piece. Special good or special bad? I guess I'll leave it up to the commenters. But next up here is a copper metallic 59 335. Not really looking like a 59 anymore. The black binding just kind of makes it look like one of those studios, but it's got an awesome metal flake finish. And pairing that with the black plastics and the aged gold, and they continue that design on the back of the neck, the headstock, back, we could probably assume the sides. Because if they're also doing the headstock, what aren't they going to do? Interesting choice to even black out the Gibson logo. But here's what I love about the binding. It actually appears to either be multiply or they just painted the edge of it black. Kind of like a widowed effect, and you're just seeing the top of the cream binding. But multiply binding is a thing. Check out the Antique Natural Spotlight Specials from 1983 for an example of that. Next up, we have Royal Blueberry Sparkle. If you like blue and you like Explorers, you might like this one. It's just one of those 70s Explorers, but they've got black chrome on it, they painted our pickguard, and made it look just a little bit different than usual. Oh wow, that just must be the theme this week. Gibson logos that you can't read. I'm assuming it's there. I like that they took the time to even paint the truss rod cover. That feels like a true art piece rather than something Gibson produced. Continuing on, Deep Grape USA Casino. Had I not already reviewed this casino, I wouldn't have minded too much borrowing this one. That looks nice. But ooh, it's just a top refinish. Still have your natural mahogany stain on the back, but it's a maple body with a mahogany neck. But speaking of widowed effects, here's a Les Paul Custom in blue Penumbra. If for all intents and purposes, this is just a blue satin Les Paul Widow with aged nickel hardware, seemingly built to reissue specs with the ABR1 bridge, maybe even 74 with the witch hat knobs. Got the blacked out hardware with matching headstock, including the burst on the back and the body. So hey, if you were looking for one of these, people have been asking a lot more than that on the used market for Widows lately. Although, to be fair, these satin Widows seem to be a little bit less popular. But how about this one? Penny Rust. They always seem to go for penny finishes. I think this is like the 6th or 7th one, but it's just a really dark metallic copper color, all blacked out. Looks like a red switch tip just for good measure. At least it's a full refinish, and it's a full-on Les Paul Studio rather than a tribute. Doesn't look like they messed with our headstock, but they did potentially upgrade our pickups a little bit. So, all things considered, if you were in the market for a new Les Paul Studio, it was a fair deal. But how about this? Scarlet Sorcery. Similar things with our red switch tips. I wish I knew where they were getting those, because red switch tips can be kind of difficult to find that have Gibson thread to them. It's really easy to find the Epiphone ones, but when buckethead switch tips break, it's hard to find replacements. But this has that cool black and red finish going on, which reminds me of this guitar that we talked about in our Would You Rock or Not episode, where they did half a gold top and half a burst, flamed. But I'll give them props, they did the entire guitar, and worth the premium if you like those colors. Following that up, a Thunderbird bass in Ebony Satin. But not just any Ebony Satin. We've got some squiggly lines, custom pickguard. Okay, I guess they were going for Kumiko stripes. And those are 5-string electric bass pickups with custom-made mounts. I wonder how that would affect the tone when the pole pieces aren't necessarily aligned all that well. I'm sure it doesn't have that much effect, but it could be interesting. And they semi-what continued the design on the back, at least for the wings. And even though the back of the headstock didn't get any additional flair, at least the face of it did. Next, a Les Paul Studio in silver copper flake. So that finish seems to suggest to me that they have a silver base coat and then they kind of painted it over red. But looking at this, it looks like they scraped the edge to reveal the natural maple binding, and then they gave it matching plastics to kind of pop that a little bit more. But you did get a matching headstock. Missed opportunity not to expose the wood around here. That would have been the it factor. Oh, whoa, no, I'm wrong. Okay, so the back is where the silver part comes from. Okay, I guess I like it a little bit more now. Once again, I'm just glad these are Les Paul Studios instead of tributes. And I think the buyers are loving it too. Because when a tribute retails at this amount and they sell them for $2,000 plus versus the studio that retails here, it just makes you feel a little bit better as a buyer knowing you're getting a slightly higher end Gibson. Even though there's really not that much difference to the guitars once the finish has been redone. But let's take a dive into Scorch Burst here on this 335. This is one of those ones where the stock photography doesn't really do it justice. We'll adjust the photos here so you can see it, but it just looks like a really deep ambered color. I bet that would look awesome in person. But sadly, it's probably going to sit here for a while because nobody can really see it. But this is one of those times where the mahogany neck being left semi-natural, looks like they just added the black burst to it. Kind of works. Ooh, nice. It is a gloss top and back refin. Honestly, that's not that bad of a price. They also had another Firebird custom in Satin Royal Metallic. It's a Firebird custom, which looks like they did a light blue widowed effect, and then they have the big blue sparkle. It kind of reminds me of the Northern Lights one, or whatever they called it, that had that big shiny star on it, but this one's just a little bit less in your face, but still has the matching headstock, and is a full-on satin refin. But yeah, that's a cool look. Lastly this week was a 335 P90. This is a Gibson.com exclusive guitar. Basically, they just gave it some aged hardware and a new satin finish, but I'm sure it'll make someone happy. Just not the craziest thing we've ever seen them do. So a pretty alright week, all things considered, but let's check out the demo shop. Anything interesting here? Yes, indeed there was. There was another huge sale. Anything fair condition was 30% off, and then you also had the 20 and 10% categories as we've seen in the past. Unfortunately, I was late to the punch on this one, like 8 hours late. And I recorded this week's episode on Thursday before the sale dropped on Friday, so I completely missed out. So all these prices that you're seeing here in this recording is before discounts, but let's just say I've heard they were even crazier than a couple of weeks ago. So congratulations to the people who are picking up Les Paul Customs for like $2,800. But they really blew through all of their inventory almost. Because the demo shop usually has a good 3 or 4 pages on it, and it's only down to 31 listings at the time of recording. So once all that sells out, oh yeah, we're gonna get some cool new stuff, I think. First up, we had a gloss olive drab green 335. A lot of times the olive drab finish gets done up in satin. Now that's not always the case. It's just nice to see one that has all the glossiness to it, because this is the one finish that does pull off being satin very good. Like check out the Chris Cornell reviews. But this one's available at $2,600, a sizable discount. But next up, I want to know how you guys feel about this. It's not the first time we've seen Silver Burst with cream hardware, but it's the first time I can remember that they mixed it with the black pickguard. It kind of works because it's, silver, black. Silver, in quotation marks, black. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like a ice cream or something tasty. Maybe just experiment a little bit more here with our poker chip switch tip situation, and then maybe you can find a perfect balance. Here's kind of a cool Les Paul traditional, $18.99. The top's all right, but oh, nice. I think this is only the second time that I can remember seeing this. It's a double stamped guitar, both a demo and a mod. I could see that becoming collectible in the future, because that is a full-on factory error. It should not have both. But this is one of those Guitar Center exclusives from 2022. Wow, I'm impressed. I didn't even realize they had all these dip switch circuitries that they were still trying to use up. There's also a sizable discount on this 58 Carina Flying V. I mean, they're 10 grand brand new. You get almost 25% off. Got nice straight wood grain if that's what you're going for. But I do like the additional kind of V pattern going on here because it's a much more predominant stripe. And then it almost looks like you've got a figured Carina neck right here. I mean, looking through all these micro blemishes, I still feel that they could have got away with selling it as first stock. Because if you look at any manufacturer's brand new guitar, you're likely going to find something. Now this, I would deem as a little bit over the top, so that's a shame. One little ding in the process from start of the build to packing it away, one small mishap, and you just lost. However, here's the thing you have to remember about the demo shop. Usually, Gibson is selling these to dealers at a dealer cost, which I think a standard industry rate is between 50 and 80% of wholesale versus dealer cost. So in many ways, Gibson's actually making more money on these demo guitars. So whoever had the idea for the demo shop and everything probably got a big promotion. And I'm glad they did. It's been a fun project to document these past couple of years. I will still never forget the first day that I saw them dump all those prototypes. I just wish I would have held on to that set. I knew they'd be special, but I just wasn't into collecting mass amounts of guitars at that time. Next up, we got this Les Paul Special, 1400, one of their cherry finishes that this model didn't launch in. It's got some nice wood grain to it, but that's not why we're sharing it. It's because somebody goofed at the factory. This appears to me that somebody installed a regular Les Paul pickguard on it, rather than the special style. I think they should have just left it and shipped it as a factory error. Somebody would have loved that. But they fixed it and filled the hole. But this has to be the coolest thing all week. A 54 Les Paul custom reissue. So normally a 54 looks like this. You got the cool staple pickup, you got the P90 in the bridge, they're awesome. But this custom order flipped it and made it a lefty. You don't see many 54 lefties out there. The only thing I don't agree with this build on is, why just spec it with a P90? The staple is the whole reason you get the 54 reissue. You've basically taken the heart and soul out of that guitar. But hey, at least we still got the ABR1 bridge. But I was fully prepared for that just to be the end of it. But then I got to the back. Holy cow. Since it's a black guitar, you can't put a black stinger. They put an antique white sticker on it. What's really strange is it's marked a DS0022. So this was initially meant to be within the mod collection. I'm not quite sure how it ended up here. I'm wondering if it's because of this. Something was in contact with this finish. Kind of looks like a guitar pick, but it might be a case button or something that impressed it. Maybe a little bit too much that they didn't want to throw it into the mod collection, because that's a little bit more wear than you normally see. I mean, yeah, you got some factory issues. This is why if you want a stinger out of the custom shop, it costs you a lot of money, because for made to measures, it has to be perfect, right? It's not like the mod collection where they can do weird, goofy stuff, and yeah, it didn't turn out perfectly. Somebody's gonna buy it anyways. But if you're a lefty or a collector of interesting models, you might consider that one, because all things considered, that's not a bad price for one of those, especially with all the custom modifications. It wouldn't surprise me if that is sold by the time this video airs. But lastly, on the USA side of things, there was a P9050 standard, which got black plastics now. I just thought the clear pickguard looked cool in this photo because it's got a black outline around it. Now, in person, probably won't look exactly the same, but interesting nonetheless. You flip it over to the back, you got some decent wood grain and see-through back plates. As far as the European side of things, they went crazy last week with a huge sale, but they're still at it this week. I thought this Explorer had some decent wood grain to it, especially on the back. That's pretty nice. For $1,500, there was one of those Les Paul standard basses. That's a nice example. Lots of ringy wood grain on both pieces of the maple top. It appears to be in okay condition as far as European demo shop side of things go. Wow, that thing's all the way from 2005. That's been sitting somewhere for a long time. And lastly, there was a ES390. Kind of looks like a 339, but with dog ear P90s. So a smaller body, thin line guitar. But alright, Troglodytes, let me know which one was your favorite down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.